everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm the City Witch. So in today's video I want to talk to you about the different psychic abilities, and I'm actually going to provide you a test in this video you can take that's going to help you figure out what type of psychic you are. Now before we get into that, I just want to talk to you about the four main types of psychics and give you a little bit of information. So there are four main types, as I say. Those are Clairaudient, Clairvoyant, Intuitive and Empathic. They are the four main types. All abilities and psychic talents and skills you have can be broken down and placed into one of those four categories, meaning that you will be a specific type of psychic. Now you will have traits of the other ones, and actually it's better if you can to have traits of all of them and to have none of them as a particular weakness but all of them as some kind of a strength. So working on all these different categories and becoming quite a well-rounded psychic is quite important in the craft, and I think later on most of you will probably discover that on your own. So I also want to talk to you about the 3 Ps. So this is where a lot of you are going, the what? The 3 Ps. So the 3 Ps are Postcognition, Premonition and Precognition. And just to tell you a little bit about those, and again I'm not going into major detail because I do feel like this video would be way too long if I did that, so I'll do a separate video on it. But to describe those 3 to you, postcognition is visions of a past event. The past event doesn't have to be in your particular history, it can be in someone else's. And the idea is that the reason you're receiving that information and your mind is going over that and you're being given that vision of that past event is because it impacts or has affected the current events going on in your life. Might even influence and manipulate your future, because depending on how you perceive that information being given and utilise it will depend on what decisions you make now in your present. It's obviously going to influence and impact your future, and obviously, as we know, every decision we make has consequences or benefits, and depending on what decision we make leads you down a certain path. So having a postcognition vision is telling you information that you're not utilising or not recognising right now in your present situation that's useful to you in order to help you manipulate or alter that. And sometimes it'll give you clues as to how that's going to develop if you don't make changes, or if you keep following that course of action, what might likely happen. Premonition. Now this is the one people get confused with the most. People assume a premonition is something that you're seeing that's going to happen in the future. That's not true at all. So a premonition is something that is focusing on the present situation. So if you receive a premonition, it's something that's going to happen usually within the day that you have it, or within a couple of days of you having it. So it's a present situation issue that your mind is working through and is telling you something about. So from a magical perspective, obviously witches manipulate and create change. So we manipulate energies around us in order to change events and to try and make things manifest. So when you have a premonition about your present situation or something you're working on, it can often be clues as to what's going to happen if you carry on down a certain train of thought, or you cast that spell that you've been considering. So you might not have yet cast it, but your mind's kind of going, well, if you do, this is what's going to happen, or this is what you're going to trigger. So sometimes it can be a great psychic ability for helping you decide whether yes or no you should be casting that spell, yes or no you should make that decision, yes or no, that's a good course of action. But it's always about the present, it's never about the future. It's about something you're doing now that's about to create some kind of change or manipulate something in a certain way that leads you down a new path. But it's always a present thing. So premonition equals present. Precognition. Now this is the one that is about the future. So if you have a precognition vision, it's always about a future event that is yet to happen. Now there's a couple of ways you can perceive this. You can perceive it that it's something you're meant to change, or it's something you're meant to not change but accept and recognise as coming into your life in order to be well prepared for it. Now again, all 3 of them can be about someone else, not necessarily about you, but you can choose whether to impact that or not. So if you have a precognitive vision about somebody else, depending on whether you, I suppose, like them or not, will depend on whether you tell them about it or not. And actually, if you're casting spells in order to manipulate a certain situation or gain a certain outcome, and you have a precognitive vision about something in the future regarding that situation, could be that the energies, the spirits around you and the forces you're working with are trying to tell you what's going to happen, so you're prepared for it. Whether you change that or whether you're happy with what they're telling you is up to you. I will say that there's consequences with messing with the future and changing your path multiple times in a year. That can be very destructive and chaotic, and obviously means you're not actually walking and learning anything. It kind of means you're just jumping from path to path, so therefore not walking in a straight path, and therefore not evolving or learning. It can mean that you're actually avoiding things, so avoidance can be really detrimental to your spiritual path, guys. So you're not always meant to manipulate and mess with the future. Sometimes you're just being told, so you're prepared for it. But over time, you will learn that skill, and you will come to recognise how to use that information for the benefit of yourself and those around you. And you'll come to recognise whether you should be changing it or should just leave it alone. And that comes with experience and trial and error, to be honest. And I messed a lot with the future when I was in my younger days, and I was getting these precognitive dreams and visions, and I was trying to manipulate certain outcomes, and always something different would happen, and I would just be like, I wish I'd left it alone. So I did learn my lesson, and now I'm very careful. I do a lot of divination, and that would be my top advice for you. If you have a precognitive vision and you're not sure what to do with that information, do some divination. Get your pendulum out, get your cards out, and ask them and say, I was given this is what happened. Concentrate on that, visualize it, maybe even write down the visions you're having so you remember them in as much detail as possible. And, ask questions surrounding those details. If you saw someone in a red t-shirt, but normally they don't ever wear the colour red, what does that mean? Think about that person and that colour and the correspondences. Think about that a little bit. That might have a message or a meaning that you're not considering. So write everything down, work through that, think about all the symbolisms involved, and do divination. That would be my advice. So they're the three main P's, guys. I hope that clears that up. But all of you will experience those at some point in your craft, in your path. And it's important to recognise which is which and know how to recognise them, and also whether you should do anything about it, whether it's something you should change, manipulate or alter in some way, or whether it's something you should just leave well enough alone. But again, that comes with experience and practice as you get further and further down your path. So moving on. So I'm going to be doing the test, as I say, that's going to help you decide what type of psychic you are. Now, just as a disclaimer, this isn't a test of my own creation. This comes from the book Practical Protection Magic by Elena Dugan. And the book looks like this for those of you out there considering purchasing it. So this isn't for the beginning witch. This is probably a more advanced book. It's definitely got a lot of techniques in it for the more advanced practitioner. So maybe not something to get now, or something maybe you can get but work towards later when you're a bit more experienced. But it does have some fantastic little quizzes that you can take in it that help you decide a few things about yourself, and one of them is the psychic test, and that's the one I'm going to do for you today. So just to show you what it should look like, so I want you to draw something that looks like this. So hope you can see it. So ignoring all the scores, you're just going to want to write clairvoyant, clairaudient, empathic and intuitive across the top, and then you're going to write 1 to 10, and then as I read out the questions in each part of the quiz, you're just going to put a Y for yes or an N for no. The important thing to note when you do this as well, guys, is when I'm asking you these questions, and I'll read this bit out because it's important, please keep in mind that a yes answer should be yes as in yes, this happens to me all the time. Not, oh, that happened to me once many years ago. Be honest with yourself. If you want to truly know where your psychic talents lie, then honesty is the best policy. Now, the reason I wanted to say that and read that out to you guys is because a number of students of mine felt like, they wanted to be a certain psychic, so they were lying and changing their scores and saying, yeah, that happened to me, but actually virtually never happened to them because they wanted to be a certain psychic, or they believed they were a certain psychic. The best thing I can say to you is just be honest. It doesn't matter what the score is right now, because as I say, you're going to develop and work on yourself and follow a certain path within your craft. whatever path you're choosing to follow, and therefore you're going to develop, and so are your skills. Therefore your psychic skills are going to change. And honestly, I can prove this. You know, all the tests I've taken, every year I take it, you know, they've altered. The scores have altered depending on what I've studied and what I've learned and how I've developed. At the moment, you know, just to show you this again, you can clearly see my highest score there is Clairvoyant, and then my second one is over here, which is Intuitive. But when I did this last year, actually I was still a Clairvoyant, but when I did it the year before that, I was a Clairaudient. When I first ever took this test, I was Intuitive, then Empathic, then Intuitive, and then Empathic for quite a while, and then I became Clairaudient. And then I've always flipped between Clairaudient and Clairvoyant. So that's where most of my skills lie, depending on all the stuff that I've been learning over the last 4 or 5 years. So you are going to see this change and develop. And as I say, certain skills will get stronger, some will get weaker. So nothing to worry about, but what I would recommend when you're doing this test and you recognise what type of psychic you are, that you try to work on discovering more about those skills. So when you know what your strength is, go and research it. Look it up. Look up the strengths and weaknesses of being that type of psychic. Look at how you can defend yourself with being that type of psychic. Look at how you can protect yourself, how you can shield, work upon those abilities. Look for exercises as well to flex those muscles that you can practice and train on every week. But also look at your weakest skill, and think, how can I incorporate that in my craft? How can I make it not a weakness? Because to me, I want to be a well-rounded psychic, and I don't want to have a weakness. Now, I can tell from my chart, where are we, that Empathic only gave me 4 as a score, so that is my weakest, and actually that's the weakest it's been in a while, so that tells me I haven't worked at all towards that. And actually I think I actively told myself I was going to do more on that last year, and I haven't, so I'm just as bad this year. So really I need to be working on that and try and average all my scores out. So rather than have one particular skill be almost a 10 out of 10 and the rest be pretty pathetic, I want them all to even, so I want to be around an 8 on all of them. It'd be great if I was a 10 out of 10 on all of them, but that's probably going to be impossible because you're always going to be one more than the other. But I want to be as neutral as possible. So I want to bring that score of a 4 up, and probably the 5, which was Clairaudient, up as well, in order for me to be a better psychic and more well-rounded in those skills. So let's move on to the quiz itself. So as I say, you're going to want to draw that chart out. So at the top, put the 4 main skills: Clairaudient, Clairvoyant, Empathic, and Intuitive, and create yourself columns. Put 1 to 10 down the side, and you're literally just going to fill that with Y's and N's for yeses and nos, and then leave a gap at the bottom where you can total the yeses up. So each question, as I say, you need to be completely honest with yourself, and you need to only say yes to it if it's something that happens to you all the time, not something that happened once in a blue moon or something that very rarely happens at all. So being honest is important. So the first one we're going to look at, guys, is Clairaudient. So get yourself prepared, draw your chart, pause the video at this point if you need to, and then we'll begin. So the Clairaudient quiz. Question 1. When I am speaking to friends, I always know what they're going to say before they say it. I'll read that again. When I am speaking to friends, I always know what they're going to say before they say it. Question 2. I hear key phrases or words in my mind that will then play out immediately in my real life. I repeat. I hear key phrases or words in my mind that will then play out immediately in real life. Question 3. If I have a person's name stuck in my mind all day, I typically receive a surprise visit or phone call from them within 24 hours. I'll say it again. If I have a person's name stuck in my mind all day, I typically receive a surprise visit or phone call from them within 24 hours. Question 4. I will have a song spontaneously pop into my mind that then provides me with insights or information for a particular problem. I'll say it again. I will have a song spontaneously pop into my mind that then provides me with insights or information for a particular problem. Question 5. I always pay attention to my inner voice or my inner monologue. I'll say it again. I always pay attention to my inner voice or my inner monologue. Question 6. I often hear other people's thoughts. I often hear other people's thoughts. Question 7. I often hear what is not said, aka hearing between the lines. I'll say it again. I often hear what is not said, aka hearing between the lines. Question 8. I can send a thought or a phrase to someone else and they can hear it. I repeat. I can send a thought or a phrase to someone else and they can hear it. Question 9. I can hear it when someone is lying to me. I'll say it again. I can hear it when someone is lying to me. Question 10. It is essential to me to have a quiet, calm environment in which to work. I'll say it again. It is essential to me to have a quiet, calm environment in which to work. So that is the end of the Clairaudient quiz. So now we're going to do Clairvoyant. So again, I will repeat each one so you have an opportunity to hear it twice. Question 1. I regularly experience premonitions. I'll say it again. I regularly experience premonitions. So just to clarify, premonition is about the present situation at hand, so not about the future. Question 2. When I close my eyes, I can see actual images in my mind's eye. I'll say it again. When I close my eyes, I can see actual images in my mind's eye. Question 3. I mistrust people who will not look me in the eyes or who look away while I'm speaking to them. I'll say it again. I mistrust people who will not look me in the eyes or who look away when I'm speaking to them. Question 4. Visualization techniques come very easy to me. I'll say it again. Visualization techniques come very easy to me. Question 5. While being taught something new, I do better by being shown as opposed to being told. I'll say it again. While being taught things, I do better by being shown as opposed to being told. Question 6. I have experienced a clairvoyant vision while I was awake and aware of my other surroundings. I'll say it again. I have experienced a clairvoyant vision while I was awake and aware of my other surroundings. Question 7. I would describe myself as a very visual person. I repeat. I would describe myself as a very visual person. Question 8. I have precognitive dreams regularly. I'll say it again. I have precognitive dreams regularly. So just remember what I said earlier. Precognitive is a vision of the future. Question 9. I can easily tell the difference between a regular dream and a precognitive dream. I'll say it again. I can easily tell the difference between a regular dream and precognitive dream. If you're not sure on that one, guys, just say no. Question 10. I am most comfortable in a pretty, bright and picturesque environment. I'll say it again. I am most comfortable in a pretty, bright, picturesque environment. So that's the end of the clairvoyant quiz. So now we move on to the empathic quiz. Question 1. As I enter a room, my first thoughts and impressions are usually about how the room makes me feel. I'll say it again. As I enter a room, my first thoughts and impressions are usually about how the room makes me feel. Question 2. I am easily influenced by other people's moods and emotions. I'll say it again. I'm easily influenced by other people's moods and emotions. Question 3. Being in a large crowd makes me feel uncomfortable and physically bombarded emotionally. So I'll say it again. Question 3. Being in a large crowd makes me feel uncomfortable physically and bombarded emotionally. Question 4. When I meet someone for the first time, I gather my impressions and assess them by how they make me feel, despite how they may act. So I'll say it again. When I meet someone for the very first time, I gather my impressions and assess them by how they make me feel, despite how they may act. Question 5. When I am with another person, I can easily understand just how they feel. I can sense their pain. I'll say it again. When I'm with another person, I can easily understand just how they feel. I can sense their pain. Question 6. I dislike and will try to avoid casual touching from strangers in social situations. I'll say it again. I dislike and will try to avoid casual touching from strangers in social situations. Question 7. Having heirloom items or antiques in my home makes me feel uncomfortable because of the memories that they carry. I'll say it again. Having heirloom items or antiques in my home makes me feel uncomfortable because of the memories that they carry. Question 8. I experience a feeling of butterflies in the stomach or a tightening of the solar plexus area when I am contemplating a possibility of an angry verbal confrontation or physical danger. I'll say it again. I experience a feeling of butterflies in the stomach or a tightening of the solar plexus area when I am contemplating the possibility of an angry verbal confrontation or physical danger. Question 9. I am best able to sense another person's emotional state by touching them. I'll say it again. I am best able to sense another person's emotional state by touching them. And question 10. I have my feelings hurt very easily and I am often moved to tears. I'll say it again. I have my feelings hurt very easily and I am often moved to tears. So that is the end of that quiz. Now we move on to the last one, the intuitive quiz. Question 1. I have experienced a foreboding feeling which may be described as a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach about a person, place, or serious situation that then actually happened. I'll say it again. I have experienced a foreboding feeling which may be described as a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach about a person, place, or serious situation that then actually happened. Question 2. I tend to blurt out whatever comes to mind without first thinking it over. I'll say it again. I tend to blurt out whatever comes to mind without first thinking it over. Question 3. I am an excellent judge of character. I'll say it again. I am an excellent judge of character. Question 4. I act on my gut hunches, which are followed by positive affirmations that they were the correct things to have done or said. I'll say it again. I act on my gut hunches, which are followed by positive affirmations that they were the correct things to have done or said. Question 5. I rarely worry because I just know things will turn out all right. Question 5 again. I rarely worry because I just know things will turn out all right. Question 6. I let my instincts guide me while searching for a book or other new items to purchase. I'll say it again. I let my instincts guide me while searching for a book or other items to purchase. Question 7. I make major decisions quickly and correctly as if by instinct. I'll say it again. I make major decisions quickly and correctly as if by instinct. Question 8. I wake up right before the alarm clock goes off every morning. I'll say it again. I wake up right before the alarm clock goes off every morning. Question 9. I consider myself a quiet and contemplative type of person. I'll say it again. I consider myself a quiet and contemplative type of person. Question 10. I work best and am most successful by following my instincts despite what others may suggest. I'll say it again. I work best and am most successful by following my instincts despite what others may suggest. So that is the end of the quizzes. So what you need to do now is total up your yeses at the end of the column, and this will give you the highest number of honest answers, which indicates what your strength is as a psychic and what type of psychic you are at this moment in time. As I say, I recommend trying this test out a couple of times in order to give yourself more of a chance to get it right, and then over the course of the years that you're studying, try it once every year to see how you're developing and changing as a psychic. So the very last thing I want to do is give you some advice on a couple of books I recommend in order to help you develop the psychic talents that you have now that you've discovered what type of psychic that you are. So the first one I want to recommend is this one. So this one is called The Only Psychic Powers You Will Ever Need. Develop Your Inner Ability to Predict the Future. It's by Michael R. Hathaway, DCH. I'll give you another close-up of that. Now this one's a great little book, guys. This has lots of exercises and techniques in it, loads of things that you can try out. It even teaches you how to see and use your aura, create shields, work with your inner sanctorum, and it gives you lots of little fun things that you can do around the house as well, how to read people's minds, how to use body language. It's a great little book for developing your skills, and it covers all the main areas. So just to give you an example of the chapters real quick. So chapter 1, psychic abilities explained. So everyone is psychic, your conscious, unconscious and the universal mind, the different types of intuition, travelling in and out of trances, balancing your mind, and a few new age tricks. Chapter 2, evaluating psychic experiences. So do you recall near-death experiences and lessons as a child, deja vu and learning about the past, guidance from yourself, past lives, tune in and develop your gift, synchronized internal and external messages, and you're not alone. Chapter 3, let your belief ground you. So this covers gathering yourself and let go of your fears, the big picture and the little picture, role of religion in supernatural, put your belief to work, golden light of the universe, and filled with your golden light. Chapter 4, looking out of your third eye into your chakras. So this is all chakra work. So balancing your chakras, keeping them centered, opening and closing them, and developing your psychic skills by using your chakra abilities. Chapter 5, clairvoyancy is a visual gift. So clear seeing. How do you see? Clairvoyant visions and connections, embarking on an imagery adventure, exercising your gift and record second sight successes. Chapter 6, what are you hearing? Clairaudience. So clear hearing, open your throat chakra, listen to internal noises, hearing things that others do not. Sounds and sights come together in psychic flow. Chapter 7, that special feeling, clairsentience, what you're feeling, figure out the feeling for others. Physical and psychic emotion. How does your energy fit into the universe? Protect your heart chakra and the joining of your psychic senses. Anchor your psychic self. Chapter 8, the past, the present, fortune-telling tactics. And then chapter 9, Psychic Toolbox. So this is where you get lots of advice on tools that you can use for divination that help you develop your psychic skills. Chapter 10, when it comes to your health, so how to use the psychic abilities to check your health using Reiki, hands-off healing, light techniques, and aura work. Chapter 11, everyone needs a little help sometimes, so visiting psychic readings and mediums, gathering your thoughts about a group reading, long-distance reading, truth about predictions, and psychic power, is it a gift or a curse? Chapter 12, newfound knowledge. So continuing your development, recommendations, practicing your talents, breaking up your energy and building it up again. Remember where your power originates. Trust your teachers to appear to you when you need them. Along the road of your life and path. This is just the beginning, enjoy your journey. And then it gives you a glossary of information and recommended further reading as well. So that one is my top recommendation for developing your psychic skills, guys. I can't recommend that one enough. The next book I want to recommend to you guys is this one. It's called How Psychic Are You? Understand and Develop Your Natural Abilities, and it looks like this. Now this one is a really basic book and really cheap to get online. It only cost me £5, so really cheap. I think in US dollars it says on here $9.95, and Canadian dollars is $12.95, so a little bit dearer, but it's a good book. It's got lots of talents and tricks in it, lots of exercises. It gives you an introduction, talks to you about how psychic you are and how to explore the consciousness and the unconscious mind. Secret Self, it gives you dream work, divination, guides to ghosts and guardian angels, and glimpses of greater realities, and it gives you lots and lots of training and exercise tools to do throughout the entire book, and it helps you work through all the psychic abilities and also develop the ones that you already have. So this is a great little book for exercises, but if you're going to pick any book, the first one I recommended is the better choice, guys. Now, I forgot to say, the first one I would give 10 out of 10. This one I'd probably score about 6 out of 10, but it's handy, it's simply written, and it does give lots of basic exercises in it. So for the beginner practitioner, this is the better one, but for more experienced practitioner, perhaps the first one I recommended. So the only psychic power book you'll ever need. And the next two I want to recommend to you guys are very spiritual, magical books. This one is for the beginner. It's called Psychic Protection. It's by Ted Andrews. So this one is all about learning how to protect yourself and your psychic talents and stop people invading your mind and block out psychic vampires. He uses a lot of animal influences in this one on how to work them into your magic and your spiritual defense. So just to give you a quick rundown, he says, learn the myths and misconceptions and unfounded fears of the unseen worlds. Learn to recognize and discern between true and false psychic perceptions and channeling. Learn to recognize subtle influences, how to counteract them. Learn to develop your own psychic powers safely. Learn the realities and myths of thought forms and psychic attacks. Learn how to strengthen and balance and protect your own energies and all situations. Learn over 20 effective tools and techniques for spiritual cleansing, protection, and overall balance. Learn effective tools to enhance your ethics, professionalism, and presence when working in the metaphysical and holistic fields. So it gives you lots and lots of information. This one is jam-packed full of information, and as I say, incorporates animals and totems into it, and angels, and all sorts of different ways to protect yourself. It's one of the best books I've ever read on psychic self-defense, and I utilise a lot of these tools today, and actually a lot of his techniques I teach to my own students as well. So this one for me would be pretty high, about an 8 out of 10. So that one's also a good book, guys, and it is written for beginners, so you don't need a teacher, and you don't need to have been in the craft a long time to use it. The next one I'm going to recommend to you is by Judy Hall. She's a best-selling author of the Crystal Bible, and she's a good writer. She gives you ways to use crystals for psychic self-protection. So using crystals to change your life, and that's what the book looks like. So again, this is another really good book. In this one, she covers all sorts of crystals that are really good for psychic self-defense, protection magic, keeping your mind safe and locking it up so outside forces can't influence you, and also getting your aura unclogged of all those horrible energies you pick up from other psychics and other witches and spiritual practitioners out there that you might be interacting with. So again, she had some really interesting techniques and loads of exercises to try. This one's a good one, but I wouldn't score it as high as I've scored the others. This one would probably be about 6 out of 10 for me. It's quite basic and it focuses a lot on just crystals. So if you're a crystal witch or someone like me who likes to collect crystals, it's fab. But if you're not really into crystals, you don't really have a collection, it's not the book for you. Go for one of the others I've already recommended. And that brings me to the end of the video, guys. So I really hope that you've enjoyed it, and you know, if you do take my quiz that came from Elena Dugan's book, Practical Protection Magic, please leave a comment below and tell me what type of psychic you've discovered that you are. I'm really interested to know that. And if you'd like me to offer any advice, tips, or anything I've learned over the years about that particular psychic ability, then just drop me a message, guys. I'm always happy to help. You know that. I'm always available to my public, my tribe. So just let me know. And happy psychic development, I suppose. So as always, give me that thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and special shout out to Elena Dugan. Thank you very much for your Practical Protection Magic book. It's the most fantastic book I've read. I thoroughly enjoy it. Mine's actually completely battered and fallen apart. I've used it that much. So she's a great writer, and if you want to get that book, guys, I thoroughly recommend it. But as I say, it's maybe not for the beginner, which maybe somebody a bit more developed, but it is a great book. So yeah, special shout out to Elena Dugan, and yeah, so give me that thumbs up if you like the video. Click the bell so YouTube will tell you when my next video comes out. As always, if you wish to support me on any of my other social medias and support me in my humble little business, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and of course I am also on Patreon. So for those of you who choose to support me, thank you very much. I do appreciate every single one of you. Thank you very much, guys, for watching, and I'll see you very soon. So as always, be good to each other. Blessed be.